Nice.
Exciting.
Okay, you're live. So, hello everyone, and welcome to Grand Multiliteracy event. So, when raising multiliterate children, it's essential to have books in the home language. And I think one of my dreams, but one of the dreams of many parents of multilingual children, is to have the whole library in the home language. So, whether you speak two, three, four languages, is to have a library where you have all your child's languages represented, and because we can see all the benefits of it. So I'm very pleased to have Jessika Rabello with us to talk about the Portuguese library she created called Casa do Livro. And we will be talking about how she created this library, the benefits of the to the Brazilian and Portuguese community, and hopefully it will also inspire others to create their own libraries in various languages. So welcome, Jessica, and thank you very much for being here with us today.
Hello, everybody. Well, thank you very much for having me.
So, to start with, could you tell us a bit about yourself and what led you to opening Casa do Livro, and when was it open, and with how many books you started?
hmm Sure. I'm Jessica, and I've been working with heritage languages for a long time. I mean, maybe not as long as your other guests, but I've been doing it for 15 years. And I work for the Brazilian community. So I started teaching Portuguese as heritage language. And then that led me to coordinate a school, a lovely Brazilian school in North London that's called Clube dos Brasileirinhos, where I spent 10 years teaching and where and helping. And now that's where my kids still go to school. So, of course, in this journey, books were always very important, but also a challenge to find to source Brazilian books. So Portuguese, but the variant Brazilian. But the communities here, the community is huge. There's 200,000 Brazilians living in the UK right now, across all of the UK, of course, but there is a significant number of Brazilians living in London. So during this journey of teaching Portuguese as heritage language to other families, now to my own kids, I came across another institution called Casa do Brasil that used to support the community with immigration and other issues that might arise to the community. Now, that institution came to an end at the end of last year. So they closed their doors. They are no longer supporting the community. And what happened was 8 years ago, they received a large donation of books that I volunteer myself, another three colleagues, we helped to catalog these books. And they became perhaps officially the first library in Portuguese, Brazilian Portuguese language in London. The thing is, this project was a little bit shadowed by the other activities of the Casa do Brasil, and the books stay there in shelves, locked away for a long time. So when I heard that the Casa do Brasil was closing down, I called them, and that at the time was Victoria Nabas, who was passionate about books, really enthusiastic about books, and I asked her what plans she had for the library, and she kindly just donated to my very eager hands to promote the library and to open its doors to the community. So I think I enjoy good ties with the communities because of the heritage language school, and that helped me make good connections in the borough that we hosted it in Brent here in North London, um, and that's how we started a Brazilian library with 2,000 titles.
Oh, wow.
Yes, that was a
That's
very
amazing.
good number to start with. It's been open since December last year, and it's now around 5,000 titles with the donations there, that keep coming. So that's how it started. So it was officially inaugurated in March, but it's been up and running since December last year.
And from when I went to visit, I think I remember that you have books for all ages, so toddlers, children, teenagers, adults.
Yes, absolutely. So the original archive came with a good range. The original donation that was made to Casa do Brasil at the time was a school library, so that would be aimed at children's literature, um, which was already brilliant. And then we increased the adult collection, and we want to carry on fostering partnerships to source more books for all ages. So, in a way, this is, I think, is a strong start for families with children. But not only, I think it's for anybody that wants to read in Portuguese, people that are learning Portuguese, people that are falling in love with Brazilian literature. Like there's what's her name, Courtney, an influencer from United States, and I think she fell in love with a very a classic author, a Brazilian author called Machado de Assis. And then
Okay.
since she's been reading Brazilian books, the spike in interest of, oh, we want to read Machado de Assis, and people learning Portuguese to actually access these titles is
Mm.
tremendous. And I think it's wonderful. It's wonderful. So Casa do Livro, now it takes its name from its origins of Casa do Brasil, but now it hosts books. Books, livro in Portuguese.
Yeah.
Uh, it's really a home for everybody that is as interested as we are in books and Brazilian and literature that you can access in Portuguese language.
Right. So it started with donations, and then you started to look for more donations by reaching out around.
Yeah, listen, I think we didn't reach out for donations, but
Ah,
the community is reaching out asking, and that's coming
oh,
very
that's
often.
great.
Actually, do you accept donations? And of course, space is an issue, so we do take donations, but of course, we try to do a triage in like we take in account what's in a good state of conservation, so we can still
Yeah.
use and the public can still access without dismantling. But we take, yes, we are open. And I think that just bringing people in, if they want to bring their books, I'm happy if they go
Ah,
home with another book that they borrow from the library.
okay. Oh, that's a nice philosophy.
Yeah.
And so I guess before we carry on, could you say where your library is?
Oh,
People
I
want to
forgot to
find.
mention that. So we are in a bit in a transition. So the original building where you came and you visited, unfortunately, that beautiful building just closed down, and it's very sad. So originally it was open in Park Royal in Brent, and we enjoy all of this time in there. We were able to carry all the activities that we set our hearts to do. So activities for children, for adults, book reading club, and everything took place in there for the past 8 months. The building had to go, I think it went under auction or something like that. So
Oh, okay.
since June, we've been using our partnership with local libraries in Brent. So we carried out some workshops in our partner library. So we went to Housen Library. Um, we're going to host an event, a musical storytelling in Portuguese with people that are coming from Brazil at Willesden Green Library, which is also a nice thing that we are, bringing these projects together. And
Yeah.
then even if local and uh, the local libraries, the council libraries cannot host multilingual. I mean, they say they have, but then you go to their multilingual
I see.
sections and it's like there's two books in Portuguese, and then nobody's aware that there's different variants of Portuguese
Yeah.
language. Brazilian Portuguese is different from Portugal, different from Angola, and you go like, right, I think we need to do. So it's good to partner up with them, and then allow the community to be able to come to the Casa do Livro and get, perhaps what they are looking for, but also go to them where they are in the libraries they're already going to. So, and then foster this culture. So we're
Okay.
moving, we're moving not far from there. We are hosted now in another building, which is in Hunger Lane. So
Okay.
just not open to the public for the next couple of weeks because I'm going this
Yeah,
afternoon
I
to put my
guess.
books in boxes and
Ah,
carry
okay.
them. But they're going to cross the road and they're going to be at Hanger Lane now.
Okay. Okay, thank you very much. And so what's the mission of Casa do Livro?
Oh, so the library comes a little bit with not a little bit, completely based on the idea of access and accessibility. So, and with that, I mean, of course, physical and everything, but I mean financial accessibility. I work with heritage language schools for 15 years, and I see the struggles. I see how hard it is to promote, to provide the environment, to rent the rooms and run a school. And it's expensive. But it turns out that it's expensive to families to attend these settings. So after a while, the idea that we didn't have an option started not falling. It didn't sit right with me that if you can't afford to go to a heritage language, then you just didn't have an option. So the library has this mission of being free, a point of access, and I'm studying a lot and trying really hard to find ways of funding it that does not incur a charge of people, to people coming through the doors, because the mission is to be free to all the time, and to remove at least this barrier, which is already quite ambitious, to be fair. So we're
Yeah,
working pretty hard on that
you
front.
need to work in a different way than typical libraries or so yeah, it must be difficult, but I love the mission, like to make it accessible to everyone.
Mhm.
And so yeah, I was wondering, so you have books in for all ages. I guess that started because it was the donation,
Mhm.
the first big donation you got was that way. But
Mhm.
is it important for you to have books in for all ages, or yeah,
Yes, absolutely. We said that we wanted to be accessible to all, and then all means everybody, from the babies in the tummies to people that love literature. So through the library, I met so many authors, Brazilian authors that live here. And they came to the library not only to share their own
ah,
literature, but to come and come and consume the literature there is in the shelves, and I think
nice,
this
yeah.
is so positive. So there is all this world of Brazilians that live here that yearn to read in their language. And I think, because I work in heritage language schools, my work was very focused in literacy development of children and my students that start from 2 to until they are 17, until they complete their GCSEs and A levels. But it's important that we have, a selection for all of those that are, Brazilians and or interested, and yeah, and we can welcome everybody.
And so earlier you mentioned that you do workshops because your library is not just to go and read or pick up books and read, but also have workshops. What kind of workshops do you run?
Right. So this has been a trial and error thing. So trying the audience. So we put out calls for different ages workshops, and I'll tell you the ones that worked, and I'll mention one that didn't work, and it surprises me. So the ones that worked, rhyme time. Rhyme time works really well. Maybe because it's a model that already exists in other libraries. So
Yeah.
families, particularly moms, but also dads with young kids, babies and toddlers, they know that they can go to a library and there will be a rhyme session at some point in the week. So trying to
Yeah.
mimic that, but of course in Portuguese. The thing that I found very interesting is we didn't welcome only Brazilians. We welcome people from all sorts of language. So it's and I was able to do a multilingual mediation with Brazilian songs. They are traditional, and because there are always props and visual elements to a rhyme time, then everybody can join in. So they learn some words, and sometimes we pick up that there are similar songs in other languages. So last time, I think we had someone from the Romanian community said, "Oh, I have the same tune for this song," and then they've sang some
Wow.
bits in Romanian, and that was so enriching, and the bond that builds amongst that group of parents and the children that are exposed to language is really very rich and very enriching. And we could go on forever about the benefits of supporting groups of young parents. The other workshop that worked really well was a call for creative writing for teenagers. And that was very surprising because throughout my career with heritage language schools, that is the public that we struggle to maintain. So teenagers don't generally stay for very long. I mean, there's a period of their lives in heritage language schools, at least with Brazilian community, that declines after they turn 8, 9, and then it goes down until they some don't do their GCSEs, but the ones that stay until GCSEs, they sometimes leave just after. So we struggle to keep teenagers in the Brazilian setting. And that was, a trend that we noticed, but we just took it as it was. And so it surprised me when we put the creative writing call and the teenagers just flooded in. There are teenagers everywhere that wanted to engage with the creative writing in Portuguese, even though their abilities in writing in Portuguese varies, but they were happy to come together to the library, in the middle of the half terms, because that's where I plan to have them, the activities, the workshops, they happen to in half terms. Um, and they were very successful to a point where we repeated it a couple of times. We brought guests, so a very kind teacher from UCL who came and did her lesson for our teenagers, and it's so enriching, that you can reach out into the community. The community is there, so it raises a whole other bunch of questions, like why don't they go to the heritage language schools? Because the heritage language schools, at least in Brazilian community, they're fine, they're great, they're fun. We believe in learning through play, and so we never quite got to the point why we're losing so many teenagers. The third one that works really well is our book club. That's for adults, and have a volunteer a Brazilian librarian that works in South London, but is a huge partner of Casa do Livro, and he runs that very successful book club. And his selection of books is just grand, is wonderful. We started with Dom Casmurro, which is a classic in the literature, in Brazilian literature. Everybody's heard of that text, so we bring people to talk about the great questions of this cultural element that all Brazilians know the stories one way or another,
Yeah.
and then bringing people together to talk about it and have conversations around this work and around literature is very enriching. And the dates are all on Instagram. And I tell you the one group that didn't work, and that
Yeah.
shocks me: the 5-year-olds. We
Oh,
pushed up activities for 5-year-olds. Nobody turned up.
what was the activity?
So, well, they came with the themes, right? So, um, we had so we did every half term. So around Christmas was around Christmas themes, and
Ah,
there were arts and crafts, but also games, and things that we are able to do in heritage language schools. And I was so excited to bring it to the public, where the heritage language schools are closed during half term. The programs in the local libraries are closed for the half term. They have different things. So we thought they're going to come because now it's free. So people are going to show up. And they didn't. And I haven't quite digested why, or, reflected in fully about
that's
why
strange.
is that, but they didn't. And I say the 5 years old because they are the peak of heritage language schools, Brazilian heritage language schools. So there's nearly no available places for them when you go to schools. The 5-year-olds are like the biggest group, and of course, right, the ages right after, the ages right before it, and that was very interesting. That was very, very interesting.
Might be a like timing or something like that
We
because
tried
they
different timings, and we tried 4 workshops, so up to Easter, and there was an Easter theme with Easter egg hunt and everything. We didn't get anybody to come, and I'm still digesting this information or this experience, and we'll look into that. I'm very curious. I'm very curious.
yeah, yeah. And so you talk about all these initiatives you have.
Mm.
Um, so all the book clubs and activities you do. So what kind of impacts have you seen on people's lives? And
Mhm.
yeah, maybe let's start with this. Have
Mhm.
you seen any positive impact on some ages. So you talked about teenagers like rushing to the, but maybe others as well.
Yeah, I think these two successful groups, the Rhine time and the teenagers, they both have visible positive impact. And I would probably suggest that the Rhine time has a stronger positive impact in parents' mental health when we provide this space of, safe space with people that are going through the same struggles at the same time, and there is this background cultural connection that we
Yeah.
share, you know being Brazilian or just being multilingual in here. And I've been there, you've probably been there. Raising multilingual kids, raising kids, full stop. It is challenging, and the beginning is really challenging. And there's a lot of work I see done by councils now to prevent and fight isolation. And I feel that young families really struggle with that. I think parents nowadays are, expected to just deal with it all on your own and, get on with it. We are,
And also, I guess there are
you
many,
get on with it, but, it's hard. It is hard.
and there are many immigrant families who don't have the network around them. Like, for example, I know that,
The grandparent. We don't
yeah,
have a
they're in
grandparent to
another
hold the
country.
kid. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. And so why would you say it's important to have libraries in home languages?
In home languages. So as
Yeah.
we just discussed that, I think that one, because
So
home
it's for the,
languages and multilingualism in overall is a superpower, is enriching, is a human right. So it has all these aspects to it that we are not promoting enough access to home languages, especially in the mainstream education system, where you're expected to leave everything that makes you
yeah,
outside of the school. So you walk in, but you're not, your languages are not welcome. So if there's part of yourself that is not welcome to that setting, and find that, I think that there's a need to rethink that bit of, the educational system. But also, like, we are a multilingual and multinational community, and these spaces are pretty much needed, and spaces of resistance and spaces of affection and spaces of, love of literature, because at the end of the day, we have these massive campaigns of reading books are very important. Why are we narrowing it down and reading in one language if we are already
mm,
able to read in other languages? Why we're narrowing down to one? We are
yeah,
already able to read in other languages, and if we can pass this on, then we should definitely pass it on, because why wouldn't you? Right? This is such a superpower that is already in the community. It will be just maybe silly to drop it. Um, yeah, and I think just your previous guest was talking about measurable impact in cognition and learning abilities. I think this is, why would we drop this opportunity to, have smarter kids, and it sounds it sounds a need. But I also think that spaces like the library and the heritage language schools in general, I think there's space for a more united approach, where, we don't build isolated islands of monolingualism here and there and build lots of bubbles. But I think there is space to create maybe more connection with all of this multilingual thing. Maybe Casa do Livro will make steps into that direction, and, reaching out into other communities and bringing literacy in
yeah,
other languages under one roof. And it can be, the house of the books, regardless the language,
yeah.
because we already read in other languages. And I think
Mm,
that they'll be very, very positive. I'm really,
mm.
hopeful that we can
That's a
move in that
nice plan you have.
direction.
And so you worked before in a heritage language school,
Uh-huh.
and was there a library, by the way?
Yes. So when I started, it was 15 years ago. Um, the school rented space, and I think little by little they acquired a cupboard. And this cupboard had resources for everybody's lessons. So we started, compiling resources, and I started a box with books, Brazilian books, that another teacher had left behind. She donated them to me. They had my name on them. And then I started a reading project. Like, let's take a book home. Let's stimulate having a book in home language at home, because at that point we didn't used to do that. There were no resources to do that. Brazilian books are very hard to get hold of, because if you try to buy them on Amazon, they're going to charge you a fee. So books like children's books are going to come to a cost of £60, £70. We don't do that. We don't. People here don't buy books for 60 quid. Is ridiculous. So it's very inaccessible. So over the years, what happened is the director, Silvia Fermo, the director, invested a lot into bringing books in our own suitcases. So whatever teacher, whatever parent, and herself, every time we went to Brazil, we would just probably chuck all of our clothes and bring books back instead.
Yeah.
And like this, we built a good archive, we built a lovely library with very nice curated books. And then also with parents' donations throughout the time, they nowadays have a massive collection of how do you call it? The bande dessinée?
The comic books.
The comic books, yes,
Yeah.
thank you. So there's a massive collection of comic books there, Brazilian, the traditional Brazilian ones, only via donations, which is pretty wonderful. So yeah, it was a community endeavor, and now they have a nice library.
It's nice to have this community efforts to build this library.
Mhm.
And I was wondering, because you have both experiences of a library in a school and a library outside school, do you feel that they have different roles in children's lives or people's lives?
Mhm.
Yeah,
No, of
what
course.
kind?
A library in the school is a library to the people that attend the school. And then
Ah,
we're
it's a
going to go back to
limitation
the
in the,
barrier of, if you can't
yeah,
perhaps afford to go to the school because they're private,
yeah,
they are not subsidized by the government. Brazil is a country that operates with a money that is worth 7 times less than the British pound. So it's very hard for the government to support anything in the local currency. So there is no support. So it is all, supported by the families that just really literally share the costs of the operation, because they are non-for-profit organizations most of the time. And they're just very hard to maintain, and expensive. So I, it's hard to say. I don't think everybody could afford to be part of that
mhm,
community, which is a shame.
yeah,
So the library, the Casa do Livro, is coming to start working on this gap,
yeah,
that there must be an option, and while we are not covering everything yet,
yeah.
there must be an option, a place to go to where at least this barrier is not going to exist. And
Okay.
that's the mission of the library, that this barrier doesn't exist here.
Yeah. Thank you. Um, and so because of people who are watching this interview who might be thinking, oh yeah, I would like to create a library in my language.
Mm-hmm.
So can you tell us maybe some of the challenges you faced and to build your own library,
Mm-hmm.
and maybe any advice you would give to people?
Right. I think the challenge that we're going to face in London is space, perhaps
Right.
I think in other places as well. So I think we're very lucky to have a partner, that's Wise Hands Foundation, who allow us to use their space
Hmm.
um, for this 8 months, and now we're invited with another charitable group. But that's probably the most challenging bit. And then I would advise, I think, if you're trying to build a multilingual library, and if you're in London, reach out. I'd love to work with you. I think we should do it collaboratively rather than, everybody popping up little things here and there, which they are lovely initiatives. And Casa do Livro is one of those. But I think we are probably going to build, its potential if we start looking at it more collaboratively. of course, locally as well, but collaboratively and not as bubbles, isolated bubbles. And I think there's a lot of potential to do that.
helping
Um,
each other and
Yes, helping each other and also reaching out. I mean, finding the need in the community. If there is a need in the community is going to come together. And if you put a call out for donations, you're more likely to be overwhelmed by donations than not. Do you know what I mean?
yeah,
If you say we need books in this language, you're probably going to get some donations to start with.
that's true. Yeah, because we all, like, at least me, I had in mind that I needed to go and gather all the books, but it's true that if you sort of build the connections, etc., and you have a call out about
Mhm.
donations, there might be people who come and give you their books because they are moving away or because their children grew up and they don't need them. And oh,
And
yeah,
because the idea behind the library that you're going to share something. I mean, I'm very passionate about books. I like books, but there's a book in the shelf is a dead book. So if you're keeping a book in there forever but you really liked it, at some point, maybe not yet because I'm not prepared to give up all of my books. But at some point you might think that, oh, this book deserves to live again, and then you put on the shelf that it actually has more chances of being picked up again, and be read. And I think people are doing that because the library represents that, right? The library open to the public, free, accessible. So it operates on a self-service basis. So you don't need anybody looking at you if you're taking the book or if you're giving the book back. And there are risks, of course. People might take the books and never come back, but
yeah, that's true.
we like book thieves. We're not against them. And so far we didn't experience any lack of books or the
And I guess when
challenges were in our quantity of books.
okay, because I guess when it's built by the community, everyone takes care of the library, they see the value of it. So
Yes.
why would they selfishly take one away and not return it? Or, yeah,
There you go. Yeah. And, I don't know about you, but I'm a bit forgetful. When I have a couple of books that I need to return to the library, I'm not stealing them, but I might take a bit longer to give them back. And then we have friends, and I think that's another thing that you have to have is to have a successful library is build strong partnerships with people with different skills. So we have partners that are building a platform or building a system that automates lots of things. And I'm just a teacher, I don't know how to automate things, but we know people who do, and they're willing to do that for us. So they're building this automatic app where you go, you scan your book, so we know who's got the book, and the person who's got the book is going to get automatic messages. So, oh, you still have this book. How are you finding it? Give us a
nice.
blurb. When do you want to give it back?
Yeah,
And so on. And that is not possible. I'm not capable of doing that. So you need to find the right partnerships
yeah,
to be able to build things
that's
that
true.
are
Yeah.
the most accessible.
Okay, that's very encouraging. It makes it seem like it's possible, like in any language,
Mhm.
we just need to reach out to people
Just
around. It's a lot of effort, but it's not impossible.
no.
And there
It's
is
not easy. It's not easy.
yeah,
Yeah. But it's
cool,
definitely
but
not
not easy.
impossible. There you go. It's not easy. It's not impossible. And it's definitely worth it. Well, I
Yeah,
believe it's worth it. I am raising multilingual kids. I'm raising, multinational kids in here, and they have a place to go. They have a reference of literature. They can go there and browse and pick and enjoy it.
yeah. We have a question from Franklin. Thank you, Franklin, by the way. You've been following the previous session live, this session live.
Oh, hi,
So
Franklin.
he's asking, so how can people in the UK but outside London access the books in your library? So I guess it's a physical library, so it's just going to your library or
Mm. So if you want to access the books, yeah, it will be a day trip to London at the moment. It is challenging, to maintain a physical library already as it is. But there are lots of projects in the pipeline, like Lots of projects. There's been suggested already, like mobile. I think we had this conversation, didn't we, Yoshito? Like
Yeah,
a
yeah,
dream library mini, a van that goes around the
yeah,
country. And oh yes. So, but we need to work towards that, and then generate the funds to make it happen. And it's
yeah.
definitely in the pipeline. When is it going to happen? It's a big question mark, but it's definitely in the
Okay.
dreams set in the dream session, like the library itself was one day. I
Yeah.
always dream of having a Brazilian library accessible to the public, and hey, it's here now.
He said he lives in Germany. So
Oh, in Germany, you're gonna find depends where in Germany, but you're gonna find lots of local um, initiatives. They're called Malagierense for the Brazilian community. They're led by someone really like formidable person, Andrea Menescal. She's based in Munich, and she has a physical library in Munich, but they run like chapters of this initiative. So they rotate books around the country, and they have monthly meetings for families, all run by
yeah.
volunteers. It's truly an amazing project.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay. And so he has another question. So he lives in Germany and he's interested in creating a Spanish language library. So already
Yeah.
you're inspiring people.
Yeah.
Uh, and would you recommend contacting the embassy for support? What has your experience been?
Um, hmm. My experience. So the Brazilian embassy is, here to promote Brazilians to non-Brazilians. They sent us a large donation of books, uh, and we have that. Um, but I would encourage you to definitely open that channel of communication with embassies. I think our greatest supporter is actually the consulate. So I think the difference that I learned is that the consulate works with a community that lives in here. So they issue passports, but they're also concerned about how are we getting on with our lives in here as Brazilians living in the UK. Whereas the embassy does not deal with us, really. It deals with the non-Brazilians. So maybe the consulates are better partners to approach, unless you have good connections with the embassy. And then definitely, I mean, reach out to everyone, and see what comes back.
Yeah, because
Yes.
even if they can't do anything, they might know someone or an organization that can be harmful.
Yes, exactly. I think they might be very good at making these connections if you have a good connection with the embassy.
And so there is another thing that we haven't mentioned yet. Oh, thanks for the information about the consulates, he says.
Yeah.
So there's one more thing that I would like to talk with you about that we haven't mentioned is that you're not just creating libraries, you're also writing books. And so I have
Okay.
one of your books here, which is so The Secret of the Book Tree.
Yeah.
And I would like to talk a bit about it. So there is an English version, a Brazilian version that you're,
Show you my
um,
Brazilian version.
thank you. You're generously giving away one copy. So if people want to win a copy, they can enter the giveaway. Um, and could you tell us a bit about the story? So what is this about?
Well, I like books. Maybe you haven't noticed that, but I like books. So I wrote a story about books. And about this character that lives in a magical place where books just disappear. And like, I can't imagine my life without books. So they, in this village, they can't imagine their lives without books. So they need to find a way of figuring this out. So yeah, so they are going to grow their books like in a farm, and it's really lovely how they learn how to plant, to seed new stories for the new generations. And it's quite nice. I wrote it some good years ago, and I had Joshua, my son, in mind, because he was born into books. He was always surrounded by books, and then it's not surprised that he loves books. So I dedicated the story and I dedicated the book to him, and And then, of course, to all of those who need books. And I hope you're there. Maybe Franklin was one of them.
And so I hope you can read to us an extract of it. But I was also wondering, so I think you got a very nice feedback from a school about this book. Do you want to tell us a bit more about it?
You know, when you mentioned that question, I was thinking, which special feedback? But now I realize what you mean. So my book, because it's is available on Amazon platform. So my editors, they are based in Brazil, but their model is because it's so hard to get Brazilian books around the world. They went with the the Amazon model where it's print under demand. Wherever you order it, they're going to print wherever you are. So
Hmm.
someone bought my book in Japan. So someone bought my book in Japan, and they happened to be an international school teacher in there, and it was a Brazilian international school in Japan. And they took my book, they read my book, and they liked it. They liked it so much that they turned it into a whole school play, and it's so I was so moved. I was so moved, and I wasn't aware of that. I wasn't aware until the teacher thought it was nice to send me a message and say, "Oh, are you the author? We've done this," and then they shared a video of the whole school performance and the characters that I wrote being played by the children. They're in Japan, and they're performing it in three languages. They're performing it in Portuguese, in English, and in Japanese, and that it was so beautiful. It was very, very beautiful. Then we set up a conference call, and I met the
Oh,
kids,
nice.
and they wanted to ask me what was my favorite color and my favorite food and my shoe size.
Yeah,
And also my favorite book. So yeah, it was such a wonderful experience that I never in my wildest dreams have imagined that this book will go so far, and
yeah, to
and
make it
hope
a play, it's such a
yes,
it would-
yes, there was a really nice surprise. I was very happy.
And would you mind reading us an extract of it?
Yes, I can read an extract of it. Right.
If you
Which
tell me the page, I can maybe show at the same time as you're reading.
mm, we're going to read in English, we're going to read in Portuguese.
Oh, what do you prefer?
What do you think is more interesting? Let's have a look. I
If
think
you read
this
in Portuguese, I can just make sure it's close enough so that people can read the text in English.
right. Okay,
Uh,
so go to page 15 then, because that's my favorite illustration. It looks like
15.
this.
Okay.
And this illustrator is such a gem. She's Brazilian. We're able to work with her online. She's very talented. And this is Thomas, the main character there.
Okay. Okay.
And this and he's so clever because he read all the books that existed in this village, but
Mhm.
they're running out of them. So he read in a book that they could plant new books by doing this. Toda palavra de livro pode ganhar vida nova em uma nova história. Every word from a book can have a new life in a new story. Dizendo isso, Thomas abriu bem ao meio o primeiro livro de sua pilha e, em vez de lê-lo, trouxe próximo ao rosto, fechou os olhos e assoprou as suas páginas. So they blow the pages of the books. The lady was the first. So, uma senhora foi a primeira a tentar com seu velho livro de receitas. Ela soprou e espalhou ainda mais letras pelo ar. Her breath sent even more letters flying through the air, leaving only blank pages behind. E uma verdadeira nuvem de letrinhas saiu sussurrando pelo campo até repousar na relva verde e úmida da chuva dos últimos dias. So a cloud of tiny letters went whispering around until it rested in the dewy grass. That's my favorite illustration. That's my favorite part of the book.
Thank you very much. And so I think it's really nice to have like a librarian who also write books. And so to finish this interview, is there any message you would like to give to families regarding like having a or how to build their own um, multilingual library or how to anything you would like to share?
I think, books are very important for us out there raising multilingual families. And I think everybody should have their own little libraries. You know, it might be even just, the presence of the books in your home, but they count. They count a lot. If you have a couple of books, they count a lot. And then grow that so much so that then the kids and the family, they want more. So I see some families that perhaps have more access to books in their languages when they travel around Europe, because it's a little bit easier to get around Europe than it is to go to South America.
Yeah,
um, and they build libraries, and they bring books, and they have lots of them. And when they go back, when they visit their relatives in respective countries, they are eager to go and get more books. So I feel that if you build that if you build that want of, I'd like to read more books, and then you have a library to go to, then you're like 80% of the way of encouraging and fostering and really giving access to what's their right. Really, your language is your right, and I really
yeah,
hope we don't let them down.
yeah. Thank you very much. And so Franklin is congratulating you on the wonderful feedback from the school in Japan. Great work on your book.
You're
And
too
for
kind, frankly. Thank you.
And for so anyone who would like to get in touch with Jessica, or learn more about her books, or even purchase her book on Amazon, you have all the details in the description of the video.
Yeah.
I don't think I put the link to Amazon, but maybe I put the one for your to your how's it called, to your website. I need to check. Let me check quickly.
We get in touch. So yeah, mostly on Instagram. So Casa do Livro
Yeah,
Brasileiro. Get in touch there. I'm the one doing the media, so I'm gonna respond to your messages.
yeah, I
And
put your
then
Instagram. Yeah.
Jessica's stories that will go straight to the book and the editors.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Then work. Oh, you're welcome, Yoshito. Well, what a wonderful event you're doing here. Thank you very much for organizing it. Thank you very much for inviting the library to showcase its work, and thank
It's
you very
okay.
much for
Thank
everything you
you
do.
very much. Because you do an inspirational work. Like, for example, I would love to create a library, but I thought it was impossible. So,
Ah,
so
have I
you
changed
made
your
it
mind now?
possible. Yeah. So
Mhm.
I hope it's going to inspire many people. And yeah, and yeah, one thing I forgot to say. So just you have different hats, and
Oh, a
one
couple,
of them
yes.
that I'm aware of is that you work in a school as well, and you started a multilingual library outside the school. So, like you said, I guess you can start with a few books, but a few books make a huge difference.
Yeah,
So, whether it's at home or in schools, if there is a small, even a little
yeah,
library, it can inspire people to be curious and not just about their languages, but also other people's
yeah.
languages.
I felt, I know we are just closing it down, and I know you need a break, but
It's
about
fun.
sewing libraries around, they're possible. So there's this community called the Little Library that you can set up, small libraries outside of your own home, and you come across them in parks and everything. Just open a door, there are books in there. They usually sourced by the community. You take a book, you leave a book, and it works like that. I work in so I help at my local school when my kids go to school. I'm a primary teacher, so I'm able to go there and support them for a couple of hours. So I brought this project where we have, and Yoshito visited it. You're going to see pictures of it on my Instagram. There is a cupboard, like a shed, outside of the entrance of the school, that's originally for books. So they were all in English language, but it made people curious. And it helped that is right under that, that sticker that says good morning in lots of languages, when, they try to say that they're welcoming of languages. But anyway, it made people curious. So we're now expanding the project of expanding the shed, because the community is, of course, multilingual, and they are sourcing multilingual books to this library that is not inside the building, but is outside.
Yeah,
So it has a door but no lock. And the books are there, nobody's misusing it, nobody's abusing the system. So the books are going and coming, and people are talking about, oh, this is my book, and I can read in Czech, and I can read in Russian, I can read in, and it's really nice to see them having these conversations. We're still at the door of the school. Maybe we'll make it inside at some point.
That's nice to have, to also know that you don't always need to lock things up. And I remember the first thing you told me when I
I'm
visited
against
your
locking things up.
library. Yeah, you didn't want the books to be in let's say
Closed
in shelves
doors.
that can be closed, but you wanted to leave them open
Yeah.
so that people can just come and pick them up.
Yes, and it's liberating because we did get rid of the doors. They had doors initially, and we did get rid of the
Yeah.
doors. I have the keys. They might be symbolic at some point when we commemorate 10 years of the library, you know.
Yeah.
um, but yeah, and people are very wary of, oh, but we're going to lose books. It's a good thing that the books are going, you know. Books on the shelves are dead books. We don't want dead books. We want books that bring life to people, that bring knowledge, that bring, culture, that bring, affection, and yeah, and they serve their purpose.
Thank you very much. And so we're going to finish soon, but I just wanted to remind everyone that this afternoon we have another two interviews. It's going to be so mainly for teachers, I guess, because it's about translanguaging, but we're going to see a school where they have changed the curriculum to make sure that the students, all the students' languages can help in the learning and make the learning better, and enrich the learning. And then we're going to talk to Dr. Ellen Rose Campbell and a teacher from an international school, Miriam de Oliveira. So she's Brazilian. So I hope I'm pronouncing it properly.
That was
Um,
pretty good.
Okay. And so they're going to talk about the language friendly school. So how to make a school more language friendly. So to support students' languages and cultures and to create an environment for that. So if you're interested, make sure to join us live if you can. Otherwise, it stays on my YouTube channel and you can check the interviews later on.
I'll be
Thank you
there.
very much again. Great. Thank you very much, Jessica.
Thank you, Yoshito. All the best.
Thank you. Bye,
Bye.
everyone.